Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Andrea Burrows, and I'm a professor of science education in the College of Education. I'm also the Associate Dean for undergraduate programs in the College of Education. And today I want to talk to you for a couple of minutes about how experts differ from novices, especially in relation to teaching. So one of the things that I'd like to use as a resource is the book, How People Learn, and it is available free to you from the National Academies Press. So I'm going to share my screen for a moment and show you that if you go here to the National Academies Science and Engineering and Medicine, you can just do a search for National Academies Press. You will see, it'll show up. I typed in How People Learn right here, that you get some options. And so there's a How People Learn 2, which is really interesting, and an expanded version of How People Learn 1. And this is the one that we're actually using today and the thing that I'm talking about. So How People Learn, Brain, Mind, Experience, and School from 2000. So if you would like more information about what I'm talking about today, you can get it free by going to this How People Learn. You can either download a free PDF or you can read it online. So if I click Read Online, you'll see that this opens up and it'll say How People Learn, and it'll show me the different options there, as well as also allow me to read exactly what's there. So if you want to read that online, you're welcome to do that. So this particular piece comes from chapter 2, and it's page 31 to 50. So if you are going to read it online or if you're downloading the PDF, it's from chapter 2, How People Learn, How Experts Differ from Novices. So the reason we're talking about this today is you're absolutely an expert in so many different areas. And chances are you're probably a novice in others. That's just the way all of us are. And sometimes when we're an expert in one area, it's difficult for us to teach someone who's a novice what to do. And most of the time as a beginning teacher, we all kind of fall into a trap. We fall into the trap of, well, I'll just explain A, B, and C to a student, and they'll go home, they'll study, or they'll study in class, and they will understand it, and they'll be able to do that particular thing. Well, we all know that that doesn't work. And so the first couple of years of teaching, we all work our way around making sure that the information that we have that's very technical, it can be delivered to a non-technical audience. That's the same thing as taking expert content knowledge and making it accessible to a novice. So there are a couple of things to keep in mind. And the reason we're talking about this is because you might want to take some of this research that you're doing into your classroom, and you're going to be the expert. Or you might actually be the novice in the research arena when you're working with your PI or your GA. And if you notice something that isn't making sense, you can use one of these tools to help you out. So the first one is that experts notice features and meaningful patterns of information that are not noticed by novices. So as an expert, think of something you can do really well. Maybe it's driving. You don't even have to think anymore about what does that stop sign mean or what does that green light mean. You know that already because you are an expert in that particular area. So in your content area or in the area that you're researching, you might also be an expert. But if you're not, if you're a novice, then you're going to have to search for patterns. So I would recommend asking your PI or GA to help you find those patterns, to help you put things together, because it'll help you make sense of what you're doing. And in the beginning, this is going to be more difficult than it is at the end of the experience. Another thing that experts do is they've acquired a great deal of content knowledge, as you know, and it's organized in ways that reflect understanding of that subject matter. So when you're talking about your content, you can take pieces and parts and make it make sense because you understand that subject content matter. But if you do not understand the subject matter as well, maybe in a particular research area, then it's going to be more difficult for you to access the knowledge that you need. So again, talk to your PI and your GA about the content knowledge that you need and how it needs to be organized in order for you to understand it and to use it appropriately and effectively. The third thing is that experts cannot be reduced to a set of isolated facts in a particular area. So think about your particular subject that you teach. If someone was to ask you to list all of the facts about that particular area, I'm sure you could list a lot, but there wouldn't be a complete list of all the facts in a particular area. But sometimes that's how we approach learning a new thing. We think, well, if I just learn this list of 5 or 10 or 20 things, then I'll understand it. But what we really need to do is we need to understand the applicability of that information. So how is that knowledge conditionalized in a particular set of circumstances? So again, talk to your PI and your GA. Make sure that you understand not just isolated facts, but how those facts are connecting to the applicability of what you're doing and to each other. The fourth thing is that experts can flexibly retrieve information. So it doesn't require a bunch of knowledge or energy for an expert to think about, okay, what do I need in this particular situation to solve a problem? Again, for example, imagine that you've lost your keys. What would you do in that particular situation? Well, you'd probably start thinking about all the places you've been. You might talk to some people that were with you. Hey, did you see me set my keys down anywhere? And eventually you're going to find your keys. You're going to have left them maybe hanging in the door. I do that sometimes. So that is something that we just know how to do. We're an expert in the area of finding things that we've recently had. We're able to retrieve the information that we need without really thinking about it. And when you're working with your PI and GA in your research project, you may or may not know what information you actually need to solve a problem. So you might need to ask, what information do I need to solve this problem? And although that seems very simplistic, that's something that can absolutely help you. Experts are able to retrieve information with little effort. So when you are trying to work through your research project and you don't know what to do next, just ask, what do I need to know to solve this problem? The fifth thing that experts do is they know their disciplines thoroughly. You know your subject matter, and you know what you need to understand it, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee that you know how to teach it. Now, luckily, you are all experienced teachers, so you do probably know how to teach your content by now. But we all have stories of times when we didn't do the job probably as well as we could have, because over the years we learn what our students understand, what they have misconceptions of, and what they need in order for them to really understand that information. When you're working with your PI and your GA, you definitely need to let them know what you need in order to understand the information. So sometimes they might think that you understand something when in reality, you really need a little more information to understand it. So don't be afraid to speak up and to say, hey, I really need some more information in this particular space in order to understand this. Could you back up a couple of steps? We all know the best way to learn is to start in a place that you do understand and move forward from that space. And sometimes you have to back up a lot of steps to get to the space where you do understand what's going on, and that's completely okay. We've worked with our students and we understand how to do that, and we need to make sure we're doing that in the research experience as well. And then the sixth thing that experts do is they have this varying level of flexibility on how to approach a situation with a new kind of outlook. So imagine again that you've lost your keys. Well, maybe you have looked everywhere, and maybe you did already ask all the people that you know, but you still can't find those keys. So what do you do next? You probably sit down and you probably start thinking, okay, where's the last time that I had the keys? And if they're not in the door and they're not on the counter and I just can't find them anywhere, then what other possible explanation is there? I wonder if maybe somebody in my house picked them up. So then you start asking other people, hey, did you see my keys? Did you pick them up? Maybe somebody thought they'd left something in the car and they're in the car looking for it while you're looking for your keys. So experts are able to think outside of the box, so to speak, when it comes to thinking about their subject matter and solving a problem. Again, when you're working with your PI and your GA, this is something that you might have to do. You might have to think outside of the box in order to solve a problem that's in front of you. But if you're a novice in that space, you may not be able to think through what that particular space might actually look like. So again, let your PI and your GA know that you need some information on different ways to approach a problem. So I'm hoping that with all of these different strategies, that the research experience is fulfilling and rewarding for you. And even though you might find yourself in a space of a novice, that working through these can actually help us become better teachers. Each time that I'm put into a novice space, it reminds me of the things that I need to do to make sure that my students are really understanding what they need to know. So if you have questions about novices or experts, you're welcome to call me, email me anytime. I'm glad to talk to you about that. I do hope that you take some time. Your activity with this is to look through how people learn and to look through chapter 2, especially pages 31 to 50. Look at the examples and read them and think about how it relates to you teaching, but also how it relates to you as a participant in the research experience. So again, thank you so much, and let me know if you have any questions along the way.